Welcome everybody to Biostock Live, coming to you from Stockholm, Sweden. Today we have a packed program full of exciting companies. No less than 7 Swedish and Danish companies will be presenting here today. Within a broad area of oncology, we have inflammatory diseases, we have obesity, we have cocaine and opioid dependency treatments, and we are really looking forward to an exciting and interesting day. My name is Jonas Söderström. I'm the CEO and editor of Biostock. And first up, I would like to welcome today's first speaker, Christine Lind of Medivir. Welcome, Christine.
Thank you, Jonas. Good morning, everyone. I have the honor of kicking off the company presentations just after Jonas. I'm very, very excited to present Medivir to you today and the company that we have become. So just very briefly, who is Medivir? We're a bit of a new company, having transformed ourselves over the last few years. What's not new is our world-class scientific expertise. So this is 30 years of drug discovery where we've had in our in-house labs, with our abilities now turned on cancer and being able to deliver new drug opportunities to cancer patients. The second thing that we've built over the last few years is a clinical pipeline. This is a portfolio of programs that are in the clinic with a good balance both from early stage development all the way through late stage development, as well as opportunities that attack both orphan diseases as well as multi-billion-dollar opportunities in the clinic. In addition, the company has had a very strong focus on commercial opportunities over the last years that it's been operating. We have in our history delivered more than 20 global partnerships and intend to do that again. And we've brought 2 products from idea all the way to the market. So 2 programs that have made it from our labs and have become commercial opportunities. Especially the one that Medivir is best known for, which was our hepatitis C compound, Olysio, that became a $3 billion drug. In-house in the company, we have competencies that allow us to deliver everything from discovery of new drugs all the way up through regulatory approvals and the ability to bring drugs to market. This is our strategy. We have 3 main prongs to the strategy today. The first is to discover new drugs, which means leveraging our scientific expertise to be able to build our pipeline in oncology. This is in the areas that we've built up over 30 years, protease inhibitors and nucleoside prodrugs. This is also to be able to develop new drugs. So this is drug development in areas of very high unmet need, which for us is primarily cancer, but also includes osteoarthritis. And the third strategy that we have, of course, is to partner many of our compounds and through these collaborations be able to increase the value of our programs. We do this in 2 ways, certainly one with academic partners to be able to bring new ideas into Medivir, but also in a second way, which is with industrial partners to be able to bring products closer to market. One very good example of this is our collaboration with GlaxoSmithKline that's ongoing today. They have the over-the-counter drug called Zovi Duo, and they sell that product for us. We receive royalties. The second example of that's also very good and very new is MIV-802, which is a new drug for hepatitis C. This is a major collaboration with a Chinese company called Ascletis, where they intend to bring that drug to Chinese patients in order to cure their hepatitis C. Ascletis has actually just recently gone public on the Hong Kong Exchange and notified that they intend to drive our program into the clinic starting next year. So this is the Medivir oncology drug development pipeline. 4 programs in clinical development. As I mentioned, a very strong and balanced pipeline across the spectrum. We have just very briefly at the top here, remetinostat, which is uniquely a topical HDAC inhibitor. I'll tell you a little bit more about this drug as we go forward. This is a phase 3 ready compound. We're currently in discussions with the FDA for this compound, and this one has a $1 billion market opportunity if we only look at the US. Our second drug in development is called Barinapat. This is a SMAC mimetic, which is, again, something I'll explain in just a moment. This is currently in a phase 1 portion of a phase 1/2 trial in combination with a drug called Keytruda, one of the world's leading immuno-oncology drugs, and this has a multi-billion-dollar revenue potential. MIV-818 is our third drug in the pipeline. This is aimed at liver cancers. This is a very interesting disease in that it is an orphan disease in Western markets, in the US and in Europe, but is a truly significant problem in Asia, and I'll explain that a little bit more as well. And of course, last but not least, MIV-711, which is our cathepsin K inhibitor, comes from our in-house development. This is for osteoarthritis and also has blockbuster opportunity. We've just recently completed our phase 2 program for this drug and look forward to partnering it. So a little bit about each of these programs, and I will start with MIV-711. This is our drug for osteoarthritis. What's interesting about osteoarthritis as a disease and in terms of drug treatments there are no available drug treatments today for osteoarthritis. Nothing that actually affects your joint structure and changes the progression of your disease. And this is exactly what MIV-711 is intended to do. What we've been able to show in the phase 2 study that we recently completed is an extremely strong, statistically significant effect on joint structure, and especially in joint bone area, which is one of the most important things to show in the disease, as well as on cartilage, which is the second most important thing to be able to show in the disease on structure. In addition to being able to show a statistically significant effect on the structure itself, we were able to also demonstrate in just a very short period of time, in just 6 months of treatment, very positive signals on clinical symptoms. What are clinical symptoms? This is pain and function, your ability to feel better and your ability to feel better when you're walking upstairs, for example. In addition to that, we also showed a safety and tolerability profile that supports the late-stage development for this drug, which of course is very important to allow a partner to take this forward. This is a very significant disease, as I mentioned, over 30 million adults in the US alone, 240 million people worldwide affected by this disease, and an enormous opportunity for a drug that actually can change the progression of your disease. The second drug in our pipeline is called remetinostat. What's unique about this drug is that even though what's called HDAC inhibitors have been approved for late stages of disease and use on those patients, those drugs are too toxic and too intolerable to be able to use on early stage patients of their disease. This is a cancer, it is a blood cancer, but it comes out in your skin. So what that means is that patients have a very high unmet need for a drug that actually is both tolerable and works on their cancer. This is actually the majority of the market that is at the early stage of disease. 75% of patients are at early stages of disease as opposed to late stages of disease. We already have phase 2 data for this program as well, and this is the program that we intend to drive forward through approval with a pivotal study. What we showed in our phase 2 program was the ability to have an effect both on the lesions. This is a 40% response at the top level. This is a good effect on patient lesions, as well as the effect on their most significant quality of life problem. This is called pruritus. It's an extremely significant itch. An itch that keeps you up at night, an itch that causes you to scratch to bleeding. This is a terrible symptom of their disease, and we were able to demonstrate effect on this symptom as well. In addition to the drug actually working, it is, of course, very balanced in that it has a highly tolerable safety profile with no side effects that were seen with other HDAC inhibitors. So we were able to show in the phase 2 program exactly this balance of efficacy on the cancer as well as safety and tolerability. And we intend to repeat this in a phase 3 program so that we can bring this drug to patients. The third drug in development is called Barinapat. This is also for cancer. This is a uniquely potent drug. And what we're able to show here, I will tell you in just a moment. This is a very complex development program, certainly, but a very targeted and easy patient population. I think we've probably all heard about the fantastic things that immuno-oncology has done for cancer patients. Patients who were able to be at least live significantly longer than they could have before. What's perhaps lesser known, and despite there being over $10 billion in revenues for these drugs, is that there are significant patient populations for whom these drugs do not work at all. Indeed, in the cancer that's called here microsatellite stable colorectal cancer, the response rate for these patients on Keytruda or other immuno-oncology agents like that is close to 0. It's in these patient populations that we are aiming the development of Barinapat. What do we have with Barinapat? We have both a very strong rationale for why this should work together with Keytruda, one of the major immuno-oncology drugs, which shows in preclinical models that the two drugs together are much better than either drug separately, and certainly than no drug at all. In addition to being able to show that preclinically, we have extremely good data from over 400 patients in cancer that allow us to see which patient populations Barinapat can show responses in. Those 3 patient populations we have outlined here and are chosen for our phase 2 portion of the phase 1/2 program, where the 3 populations, colorectal cancer, ovarian cancer, and cervical cancer, have a few things in common. The first is very low responses to Keytruda, so that we have a high unmet patient need. The second thing is prior clinical data with Barinapat, either alone or in combination with chemotherapy, that has showed that we're able to achieve some level of response. The third thing is overexpression of the target protein that Barinapat attacks. This implies that the tumor shows more of this particular protein, and therefore we have a better chance of actually targeting that specific tumor type. So with those 3 things together, we have a clinical study collaboration with Merck, known as MSD in Europe. They provide us Keytruda at no cost. They also provide us with their knowledge on immuno-oncology in the form of spending time with us on a joint development committee. We, on the other hand, get to retain full rights to Barinapat. So we owe Merck nothing at the end of this study, and we get to keep our data. We're currently in the phase 1 portion of this study, and we expect that data from the phase 1 portion to be able to be announced later this year. And then we will seek to expand the study into the phase 2 portion and those 3 specific cancer patient types that I mentioned. This is certainly a very exciting opportunity for us, and as I mentioned, a multi-billion-dollar revenue potential. Our 4th drug in our pipeline is called MIV-818. This comes from our in-house labs and works very well on our nucleotide prodrug technology. So this is something that Medivir is an expert in, and we have the ability to do something with a drug that I will shortly tell you about. Why liver cancer? So liver cancer is the target for this particular drug. Medivir, I mentioned our hepatitis C experience in the past, bringing a drug to market there. We've become extremely good at targeting the liver specifically. Liver cancer is an enormous problem. Even though it's an orphan disease in Western markets and much more common in Asia, it is still the most deadly and fastest growing cancers in the US. So it may not be an orphan disease for long. This liver cancer is also very interesting versus other tumor types, which is to say there are many what's called mutations in a particular liver cancer. And that means that many targeted therapies that target a very specific type of tumor are unable to work in liver cancer because the rest of the tumor continues to survive, even when you've killed part of the tumor. What we're able to do is take a broadly what's called DNA damaging agent, something that kills cells, and make it more tolerable, because of course we don't want to kill all the cells in your body, we just want to kill the liver cancer. What we're able to do is take this very toxic substance, an original drug called troxacitabine, and turn it into something a bit safer, but still more efficacious. How do we do that? We look at the drug profile of the original drug, the one called troxacitabine, and we can see that it has worked. It is capable of actually killing lots of cells. It was actually active in cancer models in the clinic, but the reason why it failed is because it was too toxic. The drug gets lots of places, and that's not what you want. What we do with MIV-818 is we take our proprietary nucleotide prodrug technology, and we're able to specifically drive this drug into the liver. Take it as a pill, it passes through your gastrointestinal system intact and goes directly into the liver. Then it gets trapped in the liver and stays there and actually becomes the active drug in the liver. this active troxacitabine that we're looking for, it becomes active only in the liver. What else we do there is we're also able to specifically ensure that that drug attacks liver cancer cells and not healthy liver cells, which is also, of course, what you want if you have liver cancer. We have full preclinical data on this program that will allow us to start the phase 1 study later this year. And in addition, what we were able to show in that preclinical program is a 100-fold difference in safety and efficacy in preclinical models, of course, versus the parent troxacitabine. So this is quite exciting to be able to demonstrate a 100-fold difference in the drug, and we really look forward to bringing this to cancer patients in the phase 1 study. That phase 1 study, unlike other phase 1 studies that you might be familiar with that take all sorts of cancer patients or all sorts of types of diseases, this phase 1 study, because it is a liver-targeted only drug, will only take patients that have liver cancer. And so in our phase 1 study, we will already be able to demonstrate some level of effect in the target patient population. That was a brief look at our clinical pipeline and each of the programs that are in it. We also look forward to, as I think I mentioned, across each of our programs, delivering quite a lot of news for the rest of the year. We've been quite heavy on announcements this year in terms of new data coming out on each of our programs, having started the year with announcing that our preclinical program for MIV-818 was complete and that we would be filing to allow us to start that phase 1 study. We've also announced data across each of our projects, whether it's MIV-711 for osteoarthritis, remetinostat in cutaneous T-cell lymphoma, the Barinapat program for solid tumors, or of course MIV-818 for liver cancer. As I mentioned, the 3 upcoming milestones later this year and early next year as well will be the start of the liver cancer study in phase 1 with MIV-818, the completion of the phase 1, or what's known as the dose escalation portion of the Barinapat combination study with Keytruda, and the start of the phase 3 program for remetinostat in CTCL as soon as we have completed discussions with the FDA to allow us to have a pivotal program that would lead to an approvable drug. So we look forward to sharing this news with you as soon as we are able to. A brief moment on our financials. Our cash position at the end of the second quarter was approximately 440 million Swedish kronor, or in US dollars, $50 million. This allows us to invest in the R&D pipeline with more than 1 year of capital runway, and also we can supplement that with additional out-licensing. We are traded on the Nasdaq Stockholm main board listing under ticker MVIR and do have one single class of shares, making a very interesting capital structure, very clean capital structure. So in summary, why Medivir? We have a very strong pipeline from discovery through clinical stages, primarily focused on oncology. Significant catalysts with news flow coming over multiple projects over the next few months and beyond. Near-term opportunities for us to partner our drugs and be able to receive revenues from that partnership. And we've done this before. We have a track record of having delivered drugs to market and having delivered data to market. So with that, I will turn it over for questions. Yes?
What happens with the MIV-711?
The question was what happens with MIV-711, which is our osteoarthritis drug. Our intention with that drug is to partner it, to be able to take it forward into the pivotal studies that will be needed for sort of approval for osteoarthritis patients. We have quite good phase 2 data on that, and so we're now looking for a partnership. Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jonas.
Interesting presentation.
Thank you.
First of all, I'd like to see if there's anyone in the audience who has any questions for you today. Anyone feel the need to ask something before Christine? Don't be shy. In that case, I'll go ahead and say.
Yes,
you have a very exciting, broad portfolio and a lot of interesting stuff coming up. What would you yourself consider to be the most pivotal catalyst for Medivir in the near future, say in 6 months' time or something?
You asked for one. I guess I'll give you 3.
Okay.
which I think is one of the beauties, frankly, of the Medivir pipeline, is that we do have multiple catalysts. Of course, one is a potential partnership for MIV-711 for osteoarthritis, and that will be a very important data point and moment point for Medivir, both in terms of the ability to receive revenues for that drug, but also to ensure that that drug gets developed for patient populations and actually gets to market. The second thing is the next upcoming news event, which is actually the start of the clinical study for MIV-818, which is our liver cancer drug. And so we really look forward to starting that clinical study and demonstrating to our investors that we deliver our programs on time, on schedule, and as we said, and of course moving that into the clinic. And then the third most important catalyst for us as well will be the data on the Barinapat Keytruda combination study for solid tumors, and that's expected in the fourth quarter of this year. So that will be very exciting data, which gives us an initial sense of response in patients, but will also give us the right dose so that we know what drug to take forward to patients in the phase 2 study.
Yeah. So a lot of good stuff coming up. Do you see any special challenges coming up for you in the future? Or
special challenges.
Everything?
Yeah. Drug development is always a challenge. I think we, of course, have very competent scientists that are inside the house to make sure that we deal with those challenges. There's always new data in a trial that you need to look at and make sure you understand what that is, and be able to deliver it in a comprehensive way to investors so that you understand what we have as well. Of course, one of the deepest challenges for us is to try to translate very complex science into something that investors can understand.
And in terms of focus market-wise, where is your primary focus?
It's absolutely cancer. So we are a cancer-focused company going forward. And of course, the osteoarthritis program is in our pipeline because of its value, but also because of our scientific capabilities that brought that drug in. But the next step will be to out-license it so that Medivir continues to focus exclusively on cancer.
Yeah. Good luck with everything.
Thank you.
If no one has, you have a question? That's great. Let's hear
Even though you have more than 400 million today, the studies that are decided will cost quite a lot of money. Can you go into the details somewhat? How much money will the remetinostat study cost, for instance?
Sure. So with the cash that we have today, we have the ability to get through each of the key next inflection points, which of course allows us to take a decision on whether it is a good idea to continue to move forward or not, and therefore continue to invest in the programs. Just very briefly, the numbers that we do have in our corporate presentation as well, but the remetinostat phase 3 study is expected to be approximately $50 million in total cost. This includes both the cost of the study as well as a milestone payment that we pay to the company that we acquired the drug from. So it does include both of those things. The Barinapat program, we've also announced that the entirety of the phase 1/2 program is expected to cost around $20 million. That particular program is, of course, already underway, so not all of 20 is still remaining, but that, of course, is the overall cost of that particular program. MIV-818, we haven't said specifically yet how much that one is going to cost, but it is also designed, much like Barinapat, as a phase 1/2 program. But we do expect that it will cost a little bit less. It is a bit more targeted of a program in terms of patient population than Barinapat, if that helps in terms of the clinical studies.
Great. Christine, you will be doing an interview with my colleague Linus in a little while.
Yes.
And I'm sure he will be able to dig even deeper and ask more questions.
Fantastic. I look forward to it.
Thank you for today.
Thank you, Jonas.